Great news. This isn't fucking happening. So the Supreme Court today just ruled that public funding cannot go towards religious charter schools, particularly this one in Oklahoma. So for those who are unaware of this story, basically a charter school run by the Catholic Church of Oklahoma was demanding public funding. Now that's not shocking in and of itself. What is shocking is how far they managed to go. They made it to the Supreme Court, which, given this court's past rulings, a lot of us were very understandably worried. This court really likes the idea of Christian nationalism, which thankfully it didn't go that way. But it almost did, because the vote was only 4-4. Now the only reason it ended up actually going that way is because after Comey Barrett was caught working with the firm that was bringing this case, she recused herself. And of course this was unsurprisingly split by party lines. So half of the court decided, fuck the Constitution, let's allow public funding to go to religious schools. Now, there are so many reasons why it's a bad idea to give public funding to religious schools. And it's even more offensive that they're even trying to bring this case, because keep in mind, this is happening in Oklahoma, a state that ranks 49th in public education. This is far from the first time the GOP has tried pushing religion into Oklahoma schools. A few months ago, they tried, albeit unsuccessfully, to put Trump Bibles into schools. To have the school, which are already heavily underfunded, buy 55,000 Trump Bibles. And this would have cost them $6 million. 49th in education, and they're spending $6 million on this fucking bullshit. Ryan Walters has constantly pushed for the Bible and other sorts of religious education in schools, saying it would be okay if it included the Constitution, which would actually be hilarious because the Constitution very much is against the idea of that. You can't see it. Republicans are trying to claim separation of church and state doesn't exist to push bullshit like this, even though, again, and even after this ruling, they're not going to stop. Because keep in mind, part of the Trump agenda includes forcing a Christian nationalist ideology onto everybody. They established an anti-Christian bias mission, which we all know what that fucking means. It's genuinely frustrating to see shit going in this direction. We cannot allow public funding to go to religious schools. It's a terrible idea, especially because, again, the Catholic Church of Oklahoma is running it. And while the Catholic charter school tried to argue that they weren't going to be discriminating against anyone while receiving public funding, they have this really suspicious policy that says the school will actively encourage chastity among all students, and all students must be addressed by their legal name and by pronouns that correspond with their biological sex. The use of standardized nicknames must be approved by parents, should correspond with the person's biological sex, and cannot be intended to communicate the student's ambivalence of his or her sex. All school dress, including for sports and other activities, should correspond to the student's biological sex and express the virtues of chastity and modesty. So, they're forcing chastity, and they have some pretty transphobic policies. Like, they literally require students to be dead named and to be misgendered. That is discrimination, whether they want to admit it or not. So, allowing public funding to go to a school like this, especially a school run by the Catholic Church of Oklahoma, is a horrible idea. And it would put so many students in a terrible situation, and it takes funds away from a school system that is already underfunded and very much fucked up. So what we need to do is we need to drag more attention to this kind of bullshit. We need to fight programs like this. We need to stop giving public funding to these types of schools. You cannot fund a school like this with taxpayer money. And if we truly care about education and making sure our kids are, well off and actually well educated, we need to pay attention to this issue. Not just to make sure church and state separation are maintained, but to also make sure that money isn't stolen from public schools to go to these fuckers. So, we need to pay attention to this, because this is just yet another way that organized religious groups are trying to force themselves into our kids' lives and into our lives. We all suffer because of this, so we need to stop it. And if your community is considering putting taxpayer money towards these types of programs, protest, bring attention to it, do not let it happen. We can stop them. Hell, Amy Coney Barrett stepped aside for this case because of the backlash. We do not want our children growing up being taught by the fucking Catholic Church for many reasons. Public education is important. And at a time like this, when the Department of Education is getting fucked and all these religious groups are hell-bent spending millions to force themselves into our schools, more than ever, we need to pay attention and we need to put a stop to their bullshit. And we can. Another good ruling. An appeals court with 2 Trump-appointed justices ruled that 3 attorneys for Southwest Airlines do not have to take a religious liberty training course from a right-wing Christian group as punishment over a religious discrimination lawsuit. Basically, there was a flight attendant who posted anti-abortion messages and sent emails to her union president for attending the Women's March that year, stating, "You truly are despicable in so many ways," and didn't stop despite, them not responding, and even accused the union president of murders for supporting abortion. Basically, she was harassing their union president and making horrifying statements online that supported forced birth. She sued, claiming that she was fired for expressing her Christian beliefs, suggesting religious persecution, which... You're at work. First of all, if sending harassing messages to your union president is expressing your religious beliefs, that says a lot about you and your religion, but also, they actually sided with her, which is really not good, because that gives employees the ability to harass their coworkers over their religious beliefs. They awarded her $5.1 million and $1 million from the union. Though thankfully it would be reduced, that's still not good. They gave her money for doing terrible shit and getting fired for it. Keep in mind, there are limits to religious expression. For one, you can't harass people at your job based on your religious beliefs, or harass people anywhere. That's what she was doing there. If anything, she was the one pushing her religious beliefs onto others. If anything, she was persecuting others, because she was directly harassing them for their beliefs. But apparently standing up to religious persecution now is considered persecution of Christians, which again really shows how these Christian conservatives are. In fact, this judge even quoted the Bible as historical, which, by the way, set aside the church and state separation violation he just committed. Yes, it's a part of history, but it's religious doctrine. You can't quote it to justify your ruling. In fact, this judge even recommended that the Alliance Defending Freedom provide the training. Which, if you don't know who this group is, they're the ones who defended the baker who refused to sell a cake to a gay couple. They've defended numerous anti-trans bans in sports and bathroom bans. ADF's entire agenda is taking away the rights of others in the name of religious liberty. You look at most of their cases, it's always justifying Christians' ability to take away the rights of gay people. So it was really fucked up for the judge to bring them up. And they justified it by saying, oh, Southwest didn't have to pay for it. But that's still fucked up. Thankfully, the Freedom from Religion Foundation would bring this story to a lot of people's attention because, again, fucked up. This judge had pushed things so far to where even Trump-appointed justices ruled unanimously that this judge heavily overstepped his bounds. So now, it's over. This should have never gone this far. This all started because an employee wanted to harass other employees about their religious beliefs and got fired for the harassment, only to turn around and sue, claiming that their religious liberty was destroyed because they couldn't harass their employees. It's really stupid. It is truly fucking stupid. The superiority complex of these people is just insane. They think that they have the right to harass others because they think their religion is above everyone else's. You hear it all the time. Christian conservatives so often try to claim that America is a Christian nation, and you can tell that they truly believe that based on how fucking entitled they are to push their beliefs onto everyone else. So, yes, Southwest had to bear a lot of this bullshit and thankfully won afterwards. Let this be a lesson to public and private companies. Do not let these people stick around. If someone is harassing you for their religious beliefs, don't let them do that. Even if they threaten to sue you, don't let them do this. Christian conservatives are basically high school bullies. They attack you, they attack you, they attack you, and then when you finally stand up to them and decide not to take any more of their bullshit, and then they bring a whole army of people to try to take you down too. If someone is harassing you and using their beliefs to justify it, they are assholes. They are bullies. Do not let them do that. Do not turn the other cheek. If you or someone you know is being harassed by someone and they use their beliefs to justify harassing you, do not let that shit happen. Whether they're a colleague, whether they're a school bully, because the more we let these people get their way, the more they're going to keep acting like this. And they feel even more empowered given who's president right now. You can take it away from them. You can take away their superiority complex by standing up for yourself and taking these fuckers down. Do not let their bullshit hurt you. Do not let them harass you and harass others and use their beliefs to justify that. These people are high school bullies, and you can stop them. Another bit of great news. The Satanic Grotto is free. So for those who don't know, the members of the Kansas Satanic group, the Satanic Grotto, particularly Michael Stewart, were arrested after defending themselves against someone who was actively trying to rip shit from their hands. In fact, before I even go all over this, I want to show you the video. This is an article by Queer Satanic. I recommend checking them out. Here's the video. The guy in the white shirt is Michael Stewart.
Of darkness. Jesus Christ is King. In the presence of all the dread demons of the pit, and in this assembled company, I acknowledge and confess my...
Watch as that person actively tries to rip it from his hand. Police just stand there and do nothing. They try it again. He pushes them back in self-defense, and that's when the police jump in and attack. And they get on his ass too, like, what the fuck? He's on the ground. It's not only a pretty clear-cut case of biased policing, but it also really shows you who these types of people are. These sorts of Christian groups scream about religious freedom while actively going out of their way to attack the rights of others. In fact, here's the full story. So, in Kansas, the Satanic Grotto planned a black mass at the Kansas Capitol in response to all the religious groups that were allowed to do stuff there previously. It's a taxpayer-funded building, yet they allowed religious groups in there. So, naturally, the Satanists are a religious group and they deserve to be in there too. And then, surprisingly, the point that satanic groups like these try to make, that those who scream religious freedom the most don't really mean it, and that the government is sliding towards a Christian nationalist state, are immediately proven right, because many groups, especially Catholic ones, did everything they possibly could in their power to make sure the Black Mass didn't fucking happen. They sued the Satanic Grotto, accusing them of stealing shit, which they didn't. The Kansas governor censured the Black Mass, and in response to this, they added some provisions to who's allowed to meet at the Capitol building. Organizations and individuals will not be permitted to meet or gather when participation is limited or restricted on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, age, handicap, cultural heritage, or national origin or ancestry. Sounds good. And they eventually tell the Black Mass to take the event outside, which, no. They were given permission to do it inside. Other religious groups do it inside. They have the right to do so. So they decide, oh, fuck that. We're going to do it inside anyway. And unsurprisingly, when the event happened, Catholic groups showed up en masse to condemn it. And the violent counter-protester who tried snatching the shit from his hands would go on to be interviewed, saying, he was trying to give a satanic chant. I tried to take the paper out of his hand, and he punched me twice in the face. Which, yeah, you were actively stealing shit from him. Which I would say is hypocritical given what the Catholic group had tried to accuse him of doing. It's a pretty clear case of self-defense, which is likely why the charges against the Satanic Grotto leader ended up getting dropped. And it's worth noting, Marcus Schroeder, the violent counter-protester who tried stealing that shit from his hands, has a violent record. In fact, in 2023, he was caught trying to call a bomb threat into a pride event, which again really shows you the kinds of people they are. Which, side note, I want to just show you how the Catholic Vote titled this. Satanists responsible for Kansas Capitol violence face no charges, plan a new ritual instead. Which is another bit of good news from all this, because they're not backing down. They're planning a new ritual to eventually host, which is really awesome. Because that's the thing. These groups aren't out for religious freedom, as you can obviously fucking tell. These groups are out to silence us, to say we don't deserve to exist. All these religious groups, and even sadly some atheists, see what the Satanic Grotto was doing as, oh, just petty political bullshit. It's not political for us to fucking exist. Because that's what this whole thing is. It's Satanists exercising a right that Christians and Catholics have been able to exercise for decades. And their response to engaging in the same practice that Christians have been engaging in for so long is violence, bomb threats, and a continuous attack on the rights of others. What the Satanists were doing weren't suppressing anyone's rights. Again, they were engaging in an act that several other religious groups have been able to engage in before them. And suddenly when the Satanists do it, it's a problem. There is nothing political about existing and exercising the rights that Christians have been able to exercise for so fucking long. This battle is way more important than a lot of people realize. Because Christian nationalism is a bigger threat to this country than ever. White evangelicals have been the majority of this country for so long, and because of that, they never had to worry about other groups existing or exercising the same rights as they do. But now, things are different. There's way more groups of people, and of course, because there's way more groups of people, many more people want to use the exact same Capitol grounds as the Christians have been able to use for so long. And that has caused all these Christian groups to panic, because now they're not the majority. And as these minority groups grow in size, they're much harder to suppress. So now they have to fight and do everything they possibly can to erase those people from existence. It's why they're forcing the 10 Commandments into schools and the Capitol buildings. It's why they're trying to restrict the rights of other religious groups from participating in the same practices. It's why they're constantly trying to push proclamations that this is the kingdom of God. It's because they're actively trying to reestablish their superiority. What they used to be able to do with just being the majority is now no longer possible. These groups are losing their power and losing their influence. And so now they gotta infiltrate what was always a secular government and try to bend it to their will. So we need to stop this. What you need to do is to get involved. If you're a Satanist who doesn't really participate in politics, You need to. Now more than ever. Because shit is only going to get worse. We can fight them. It's possible. But we all need to do it together. And if you're not a Satanist, you should still participate. You don't have to participate in a Satanist march, but you should participate in secular politics in general, making sure that separation of church and state is maintained. Because this is more dangerous to you than you realize. Even if you're a Christian, they're still coming after you, because these groups want their version of Christianity to be maintained. They've lambasted progressive Christians and other groups of Christianity for the longest time too. So what we need to do is we all need to band together to keep this nation secular and to make sure that the rights of everybody are maintained. Whether or not you're in an oppressed group, participate. Because once they start coming after you, because if you don't protect the rights of others, once they're gone, there's going to be no one else to protect you. It is not political for you to fucking exist. These groups are more motivated to suppress you and to suppress the rights of others than many are to maintain them. While you might be focused on this issue now, or may have been focused on this issue for the last couple weeks, they were focused on it years ago, and they're going to be focused on this years after. So you need to work harder. You and everyone else need to work harder to maintain your rights and the rights of others than they are about stripping your rights. When we work together, we are far more powerful than they are. We can fucking do this. Hail Satan, hail you, hail myself, and hail the Satanic Grotto.